Yeah, hi folks, Yogi here, and you wanna know how I did this video, this Protonstream clip with me blasting the shit out of my backyard, you know, and making some lines for planting flowers later on. Stay tuned, I will guide you through this process once I know how I close this. Okay, what you will need is the latest version of Hitfilm. Yeah, it's called Hitfilm Express and the latest version is number 12. So open up Hitfilm. I'm not going into details. I assume you familiarize yourself with all those functions by watching all those great tutorials on YouTube out there, and believe me, they are good. They are not too long, not too short, but they explain it in very much detail and stuff like that. Let's go to new. Leave everything as it is, but what I can tell you, we don't need 5-minute duration for a 25-second clip, but let's say okay, we can change this later. So here we are. When you download the software and activate your free license and everything might be a little bit different arranged. But you will first start with the media import panel, which is here. That's your timeline, that's your viewer, and that's your effect panel, but you can put it wherever you want to or use some pre-composed arrangements, whatnot, I don't care. So let's go to import your file and say open. Now it's here, drag and drop it into here, and it says, hey, we have a different format than selected. You want to change it to the proper format automatically? Yes, bam, there we are. So we shorten the duration of everything to something around this 25 seconds and 11. Yeah, that's the duration of that clip. So what do we want to do? First, let's hello here. Let's enlarge it a little to something around that. That's okay. And now we scrub forward to the place I start shooting while I'm in frame. Let's say something here. And we take the razor blade and slice it. Then over there, you know what? For time's sake, we just make a firing from left to right, and we slice it here. I could do the whole shooting sequence, but hey, for the sake of the tutorial, I think that should be plenty. Let's hit that. Let's select that portion of the clip, right mouse button, and make composite shot. Selected clip. If we would have some alterations, we would leave it here or move it with the clips. We don't have it, we just sliced it, so let's just hit OK. Now we have that composite shot, which has a duration of about 1.23 seconds. Pretty much not long, but it's just for making a Protonstream, and once the Protonstream is there, it can be turned on for as long as you need. It's in making that stuff. What do we have? We have the editor, which is basically the whole timeline. It's where you can put even more clips to make a whole fan film and slice them, cut them, do transitions. That's what you make in the editor. And once you have find a portion where you need certain special effects to happen, you take that portion and make it into a composite shot, which then is here. So, what do we have to do first? First, we have to track the tip of the gun. So, we go into that media here and hit the plus on tracks. Then we scrub in, make this a little bigger, scrub in again, and then we have a rectangle. The red one is the one where you decide what features should be tracked, and this is the part, the green one is where the tracked feature is looked for, you know, and this one is the middle, is that point that defines the tracking marker, which can be basically anywhere, but we want to have it here. So the video footage is crap and the tracked feature doesn't stand out really good from the background, so the computer won't track it automatically. You can play forward, and if I would have, you know, a bright marker here, it would track very well, but I don't, so I do it manually, frame by frame. And if I find the feature won't track very well, it will probably start by just a few frames. See here? I manually adjust. Why do we track? We track so we have a point that is moving through the scene that help us animate the Protonstream. And there we are at the end. So now we have tracking data, but without a new point layer where we apply those X and Y tracking datas. We are pretty much done. So we have this, we go back to the media, back to tracks, and choose the new point layer and apply this tracking data, and we are done. Then we go back to the viewer, move that point layer down to the bottom, close this, and that's basically it. So now we make a new layer, plane layer, and we call this Protonstream. If you have more than one point layers, you should call it gun tip, but we only have one, and we know the point layer is the tracking data for the gun tip. We are basically okay, but always name your stuff for the sake of the video. Okay, now the plane layer is black. We change the blend mode to add, and that's where we, let's put this aside, put our effect in, which is the light, particles and simulator, lightning and electricity, and there it is. So what we do, we go to the start, we are shooting here, we are open up the lightning and electricity effect. We should name this stream. Bob. And then we basically made this into the orange core of the Protonstream. We scale down the twitch scale, which is that zigzaggy, and we assign the start to the new point and zero this out so it's always on the gun. We make the thickness at the start to something around 45. We close the start, we go to the end, and we make the width the same, something around 45. That's cool. Branches, quantity is now 5. These are those things. We don't need this in the core. And we are basically good. Now we go to core and glow. Make this to a yellow. Open the glow. Make this to a red. And that pretty much looks great. You can play around with those values. Radius, so that's very fat. I don't like this. Feather, yes. Scatter, smooth. Play around with those values. For me and for the sake of the purpose, that's and the purpose of that tutorial, that's good enough. And yes, so seed is a basically random value. You know, if you have more than one and you want to randomize it without changing everything here, just give it another seed, you know. But we have only one, so we can let it at 0. Wave scale is basically doing this. You can do a laser line with that. We want to have a very small wave, and let's see how that looks in the video. There's not much going on there. I want to have it a little more wiggly. So we go to animation, that's below the glow, and ramp up the speed to 2, and let's see how that looks. That's okay. That's really okay. And we can maybe put up the scale. Let's put the scale to 2. Jitter isn't usually something you find in the Protonstream, but remember, we are using a lightning effect, you know, and that's basically how much and how often it jumps from one position to another without moving there, you know. So let's leave that at 1. Yeah, you know, but I highly encourage you to play around with those values and keyframe those values. We are coming to that, how to keyframe, in a minute. And because you might have a different behavior at the start of your shooting sequence than at the end, you know, so you might have to change those values because you want to have it, you know, very confined at this moment in time, but it's all over the place, so you have to change values. And to do that is using keyframes, you know. But let's see how ramping up the scale works. That's looking cool. We leave it at there. Now we want to animate this point to go over the screen, not the screen, the screen, sorry for my bad English here, over there. So we have to animate the end point. So close animation, where do we have it? Here we have the end, and we are at the start. We activate that circle endpoint. Now we have a keyframe there. we scrub through the timeline. Now we are at 45. Let's move it up there. And as soon as we move it, we create another point in time so that stream moves up. That's cool. We move further ahead. Now it's at 90 degrees directly above us. We move it over there. That's cool. We move even further over there. We move it over there. That's cool. And we move it a little down. Something like there. And now we have created animation with using keyframes. Let's see how that look. I activated this so it plays in a loop. That's looking cool. What else can we do to sell this shot? We go, like I said, to the endpoint and check what happens when I say grows. That looks awesome. So we make this to 0, hit the keyframe, extend a few frames. Let's say 1, 2, 3. You can use the point and comma keys on your keyboard to do so. 3 frames and ramp it all the way up. That's cool. How does that look? 3 frames are barely visible. So what can we do? We just put this further here, and now it takes longer. You know, this is 0 extension, this is full extension, and by moving this point, as you can see on the screen in time, it takes longer to reach full extension. So let's see how that looks. That looks way better. It could be a little bit faster, so we 2 frames shorter. That looks cool. Let's use that. So, and how do we do the lightning that blue flashes around that? That's pretty easy. Let's collapse everything here. And we duplicate the stream. We can use the duplicate function, and both are the same now. We just take the upper one and rename it to plasma, because lightning is just very hot ionized air, which is the 4th state of matter, so it's plasma. Scientifically correct. So now we need that in frame, fully extended. It's something like this, and we first change the color. We go to core. Don't use white, that looks cheesy. Take some off blue whitish. Say okay. Take the glow, make it a dark blue. Okay, and now it looks purple because both streams are identical and laying over each other. So now we have to change this. Collapse core, collapse glow. Go to the start, and I want to have it a little bit thinner. Let's say something around 25. Say 26, it's okay. Make this the same. 26. Here, that's a good option also for the endpoint. If you shoot towards the camera, make it bigger and animate the scale with the keyframes. You know, so you get some depth out of that. you know, just a little thing. And did you notice that we also have those animations for the keyframe, because we are duplicated this as well, so we don't have to animate it any further. We just have to change the appearance. So that's basically it. Now we ramp up the Twitch scale again. Ramp it up fully. Move in, and that looks like a Protonstream. What else can we do? I want to have it a little bit more confined to the stream core, so we ramp down the wave scale, but without the wave scale at all it won't do much. So let's first try it with leaving it. That looks cool. We ramp it down and see how that looks. That still looks okay to me. We can leave it there. What else could we play around with? Oh, don't collapse everything. Branches. We need some branches. I think something around 8 would be cool. Those are those little things here. We can play around with the rotation of that. Let's say it a little bit more forward. Angle of attack. You can play around with each. Minimum scale is 0, maximum scale is 20. You can play around with these values. Here you can say, hey, I just want to have this one at the very top or at the very bottom. You can also animate this if you choose so throughout the timeline. Number of twigs, that's cool. Twig scale, let's really crank that up. So that's basically really cool. Close the branches. Let's go to the core. I like the opacity, having it a little less pronounced. No. Let's feather it a little so it isn't so harsh. You know? That looks pretty cool. And close the core. Let's see what else can we do with the glow. Opacity. Yeah, opacity full, radius a little bit less, but more opacity. That looks cool. Scrubs through the timeline. Yeah, that looks awesome. And feather, definitely feather, other it becomes too harsh. Scatter would make it a little grainy, don't like that. And smoothing, you can really, as you can see, you can really play with all those values. You know, I leave it at 0 pixel, so we have glow at all, and we could change the animation speed, but I think that's cool, you know. And yeah, and now a thing I'd like to show you, what I told about seed. If I would change the seed, it would be totally somewhere else. If that's your goal, you know, that's cool, but the stream has a seed of 0, and we made this out of the stream, so if that is 0, we have the same behavior. So this follows more or less the stream. Well, that's akin of what Ghostbuster 1 is like. So if that's your goal, that's the way you do. Trunks would make this. I would say 1 is okay. 2 is too much. But like I said, if that's your thing, play around with those values. You know? Play around with that. See what works for your scene best. Okay, that's basically that done. What else can we do? We need a flare at the gun tip. We do this on our own layer. You know, you could basically also put the stream and the plasma on different layers. So it's all up to you. Make a new layer and let's call this flare. Hit enter. Right mouse button, blend mode to add. And make a new effect. Lights and flares. Light flares. That's a harsh one, but we will change this later. Go to flares. That's okay. But first we want to bind it, you guessed it, to the point layer, which contains all the tracking data. Here we have it. New point. Zero it out. And that's basically it. Here you can change the type of the flare, but I think that looks awesome. It looks like a welding light. Hotspot position, intensity and scale is what we have to change here. That's cool. And now we animate the intensity to get a flicker. It's as easy as that. First keyframe. Advanced a few. And now imagine you have a very long sequence. You basically highlight all those, right mouse button, copy, and there where your slider is, paste, it will paste it. Go to here and say paste, and you are done with that animation. So, what else can we do to sell this effect? Let's close flare. Let's open the Protonstream. And let's put one more effect to that Protonstream, which is basically a motion blur. Go to blurs. Go to, where do we have it? Motion blur. And that's it. Now we scrub through that timeline and see the motion blur that really sells the effect even further. And that's how to do a Protonstream. And you know what? If you have a shot with several Ghostbusters in there, you know, name this layer Protonstream 1. Duplicate this whole layer. Name it Protonstream 2. And 3 and 4. How many Ghostbusters you have on screen? Sorry for my bad English. And that's basically it. Then you just do, of course, each Ghostbuster needs their own tracking point. And so you would call this gun 1, and then you do another tracking data with a new point layer, call it gun 2, gun 3, and the start of Protonstream 1 applies to gun 1, and then you animate each Protonstream one after another. And if there would be too much Protonstreams going on, you just hit the I button and concentrate only on the Protonstream you are working on. And then you are done. And now, how to export this? You can export the composite shot only, or the whole editor timeline. What does the editor timeline look like? The editor timeline looks like it has a Protonstream. That's cool. Let's go to export. In and out area. So this is the old one. We basically just remove this task, say yes. Here we have our two things. We have the 1.24 seconds, that's the Composite Shot, and here we have the editor. This is also the actual editor. Click on it, say what this should be called like and where you want to save it. Here you have a format, basically all the formats you can have. Something for YouTube, something for Facebook. Let's say we want to have it for YouTube 180p. I think that's plenty. And save it and start exporting. Now I have a smoke. And now it starts exporting your whole movie. In my case, that little clip where we had 2 slices to get 1 portion out of it, which we made into a composite shot. But that doesn't matter how many composite shots you make out of that. It works the same. You just export the whole editor timeline. And later on, if you make a fan film, you can import those exported things with all those effects in it, you know, and basically arrange them to make your movie. It's as simple as that. Now we have done this, we can close it. I don't want to save it, so I discard it. It was just for the sake of that video. And now we have it here. Editor 3. Let's have a look at it. That's what we've done. And it looks pretty much okay. So, hope you liked this little video. Give me a thumbs up. Share it with your friends. Check Hitfilm Express 12. It's an awesome software. Totally free. Lots of tutorials in there. And you see what you can do in a couple of minutes. And it's awesome. Okay. Thank you guys. Bye.